Hey guys, it's Rebecca Oberstadt. So I've had people ask me before how I wash my brushes and get them dry within a couple of hours instead of waiting overnight. Now, some of my larger brushes, like this Lexi brush that is made for blush, it usually takes it about 4 hours to dry, but smaller brushes like these usually take about an hour, and I'm going to show you how I wash them, rinse them, and lay them out to dry. I am going to be using the Real Techniques brush cleaner doing this. I've used this a couple of times before. Soap is soap to me. I don't really care about fragrance in my brush soap. I have even taken the same bar soap that I use in the shower and use that. I've used body wash on them. So basically what I do is I get them wet. I get the bristles wet. I try not to get the ferrule wet. I have a little bit of the soap in here. And then I'm going to be using this little guy that I got at the Dollar Tree. And it came in a 2-pack, so it was like 2 for $1 to scrub my brushes on. Then I rinse, and I will go through that process in just a minute. So I'm going to start with one of each of these sizes for right now. And I haven't washed my brushes in a while on purpose, just so I could do this video. All right, now that I've got them all wet, I basically just dip the brush in the soap. I work it through with my fingers, except for the one I got wet. And that's where this little guy comes in. And normally I would get all of my brushes wet at the same time and put soap on them and work one by one after I do this, instead of doing only 3 at a time. I usually put soap in all of them, scrub them, and then lay them to dry, or lay them in the sink like this, or back in the container that I put my dirty brushes in until they're all washed, and then I rinse them all at the same time to save water. And I don't rinse that out every time. Now usually anything that's left over soap wise, I will squeeze it back into the container, not only to save soap, and I've used these brushes quite a few times. It's been over 2 months since I've washed brushes, and I usually am very good about washing brushes regularly. Like, I wash my brushes usually every other time I use them, and this is how many I've got to wash right now. So a good portion of this bucket is nothing but dirty brushes. This brush here takes about 6 hours to dry. It's the only brush that I've got that takes that long, and this is because it's natural hair. And now to rinse. You always want to brush or rinse the bristles with it down instead of up. You do not want to get water in the ferrule. I take them and I squeeze the water out while they're pointing down. And then I take them once and shake the water. And then that's it. That's all I do. Sometimes I'll go through and I'll do this to flick more of the water out of it. And it also loosens the bristles up so that they're more able to dry easily. But the more amount of water that you can expel off your brush hairs before you lay them to dry, it helps. And then I just lay them on a microfiber towel to dry on the counter. So now I'm going to go ahead and wash all of my remaining brushes. I will show you how I do that. I'm not going to talk for the rest of this, but I will speed it up so you don't have to sit and watch the whole thing. And then you'll see my brush washing layout. Okay, so start to finish, it's taken me about 15 minutes to get this far. And then usually I just lay the brushes out, usually by size. This one's also a natural hair brush, and it is over 20 years old. Looking a little... And I don't know if you noticed, but I do have a few that are dual-ended. Those are kind of a pain to wash, just because they've got two sides on them and you've got to wash both sides. Just because I use it, and if I don't use the other side, I still wash both sides. So that's basically it. I will leave it lay out open like this for about an hour, and then I come in and I fold the other half of the towel up over it, and I'll like press the water out of it just like that. And this one here is actually stained. I can't get it any cleaner than that. I wish I could. It's one of my BH Cosmetics brush. But any of them that don't look right before they dry, I usually kind of fluff them like this, just to give them their shape back. And it also gets any extra moisture out. Now this one here usually dries really quick. Quite a few of my brushes dry before an hour is even up. So it's about 6:00 p.m. right now. I've got a few things that I've got to go do, and I will let these sit out, and I will check back in an hour and let you guys see the progress. But this whole thing cost me less than 15 minutes, and I washed all of those brushes. Now granted, some people might have a lot more brushes than me, but I don't have many more brushes than that. I've got a few up here, and I've got a few over here, and that's it. Those are all the brushes that I own. And some of these brushes, like this one, I've had for 20 years. This one here I've had for 15. So I've got some brushes that are really old. Anything that's an old Mary Kay brush I've had since 1997, 96. So I've got some really old brushes. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, so it's been a little over an hour, probably about an hour and a half, and I just wanted to show you that these brushes, almost all of them are dry, for the exception of like this one that's more densely packed. This one's just a little bit damp still. This one's definitely still wet. But the densely packed brushes like this, they're gonna hold water more and a lot longer. Those usually take more than an hour to dry. But all the ones that are fluffy like this, they're already dry. All of these other brushes, like the eyeshadow brushes, they're all dry. Even like the synthetic one like this. That's more densely packed, but this one's a little damp. But again, it's also a really dense sheer brush. And of course, this one takes the longest to dry. I think this one's about 75% of the way dry, but this one here, you can definitely still see the wet spots in the brush hairs. So this one will take longer to dry. But this one here, if I wanted to, I could use it now. If it wasn't bedtime or getting close to it, this would be okay to use. But again, it's not been that long. I know some people have said that they have to wait for their brushes to dry overnight before they can use them. This one here is a little damp down here. And this one's still a little damp too. But this is supposed to be a foundation brush. You can still see there's still some water on my hands from these brushes and this one, and definitely these two. But it doesn't take that long to, especially for brushes like these, to dry.